Hello and welcome to today's session on prose. I am Dr. Zohra Iqbal from the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. This is another essay from Francis Bacon. The first one that we did earlier was of studies. So, during the analysis and the explanation of studies, we have looked into the life of Bacon and the characteristics of his style. This is in continuation, and today we will be dealing with the essay of truth. This is in third year BA English. The world knows Sir Francis Bacon for his worldly wisdom, and Alexander Pope was the one who called Bacon the meanest kind of person because of his worldly philosophies. So, something of truth nature to be spoken from Bacon's side is quite rare. Then he really focused on worldly benefits and rarely talks about fruits of eternal life. That is what we generally see. But luckily, he gives spiritual advice in this essay. He analyzed and observed the world, and in Of Truth, we find him guiding us to be fixed on truth. When we speak of the central idea of this essay, this is a great work of prose from him and shows his keen observation of human beings and their attributes towards truth and lie. Meaning he is trying to fix the focus of the human beings. Why exactly are they in favor of truth, or most of the time why are they in favor of lie? So, in Of Truth he speaks of the favor that he gives to truth, the questions why people do not care for truth, differentiates between truth and lie, and forces us to speak the truth in every situation. This he supports with arguments as well as quotations. The first example that he starts with, while he explains what exactly is truth and how it is deciphered by people, we see him quoting or giving an example from ancient Roman governor that was jesting Pilate. And this governor, we are all aware, was the one responsible for pronouncing the judgment on Christ. He made situation critical because he did not analyze truth. It said that Pilate asked for truth, but he did not wait for it. If he would have known the exact truth, then he would not or never would have passed the judgment on Christ to crucify him. He doubts that Pilate was also a skeptic. So, while considering the skeptics, who are they? Bacon gives an analysis. He says, these skeptical minds are not easily convincible. They do not have strong beliefs. They consider that fixed beliefs are a sign of mental slavery, and therefore they keep considering questions for everything that comes in their way, and truth is also one of them. So, they keep considering truth also, and they analyze. Sometimes they are not fixed on their ideas. Whenever they think or take decisions, they use their free will, and they stubbornly ignore every belief. They change their minds frequently. So, while speaking of skeptics, the question of truth also arises. Why do people hate truth? For this, Bacon has an explanation. He says, truth is difficult to acquire. Absolutely without hard work, one cannot acquire truth. Then, if this is true, then man is forever reluctant to do hard work. Truth makes people bound to a certain fact, meaning when the truth is already out in the open, there is rarely a possibility that anyone would ignore it. One has to adhere to it. So, it diminishes freedom in this context. Discovery of truth requires efforts as well as time. For this, he gives a little further explanation that it requires effort and time, and he says, he gives rather the examples of the courts. In every country, thousands of cases are pending, and throughout the entire day and night, the advocates and the defendants and the plaintiffs, they keep arguing for what is right. They try to figure out what is right. Every case takes many years to find out what is the truth. That means much effort and time goes into finding out the truth, and both the parties struggle in this bargain to prove themselves right. Secondly, when truth is out, Bacon says, it is very hard to digest, very hard to believe it. because one has to be fixed on truth once it is out. That is not the nature of human beings, especially that is not the nature of skeptics. He then further says that lies attract people. Why should lies attract people? For that, he says there are two types of professions basically in which we find that lies are quite attractive. That is the poets. They tell a lie because it gives pleasure to them, to the human beings who are reading their works, to the poets itself and to the people who are reading. Then traders, they tell a lie because they want to sell their goods. Then how is truth different from lies? Lie has a beautiful and shiny cover according to Bacon, due to which people like to lie. Instead of following the truth, they are followers of lies. If truth is mixed with lie, then it would give some pleasure to the people as well as some hope. This we see in the writings of the poets. Most of them have spoken about it. People create false beliefs, judgments, opinions because of this mixture. Then he further goes on, again another simile he brings in. He says, when people witness a performance in broad daylight, it is not so attractive, whereas the same performance, when it is held on the stage with a lot of lighting effect, especially candles and other lamps are burning, it gives an entirely different spectacle and people like it. So, it would definitely give pleasure to the audience, whereas the things are same, only the mixture of some kind of an imagination or fancy is there. The same is the case with lies. He further says, truth may perhaps come to the price of a pearl that showeth best by day, but it will not rise to the price of a diamond or carbuncle that showeth best in varied lights. So, a mixture of lies with truth, it gives it the extra shine, whereas bare truth would not attract people that much. Further, in this case, he was criticized perhaps, and therefore he comes out with an explanation trying to purge the poets of this criticism that poetry is also a lie and it is harmful. So, he says, if poetry is a lie, then we have to consider whether it is harmful or whether it is not harmful. Earlier writers of the church, although they called poetry a devil's wine because it exaggerates and it is full of fancies. It also takes a person into the world of imagination. Therefore, they call poetry a lie, and it is harmful for human beings according to others. But Bacon feels that poetry is not harmful at all. Why this kind of a stand is taken by Bacon? Because he categorizes lies into two categories. First is the short term and then the long term. Poetry tells people the lie, but it is soon forgotten by them. Therefore, it causes no harm according to Bacon, whereas he considers those kind of lie which are sinking in the mind of the people and it is very difficult for them to forget it, those are the harmful kind of lies. So, he in a way purges the poets of this criticism and tries to say that poetry is not so harmful, therefore, it is okay, it is not even a lie. So, in the case of poets, they add false praises and their poetry reaches out to higher levels of accomplishment, but then it is not so harmful, whereas truth is almost important in every aspect of civil or business. In this category, he tries to purge the poets, but then he does not try to tell us that he is now favoring lies. He considers another point here. He says lies and pleasure, they are walking hand in hand. He rightly says that a mixture of lie doth ever add pleasure. So, people lie because of many reasons. First of all, it gives the cover to the personality. Then it makes things very interesting, spicy as we can say. It pleases everyone. Additional praise, flattery, comments, illusion, they add spices to the society. Here Bacon comes to a point where he tries to give a bold statement, and in this context he even quotes Montaigne. He tries to tell us that while a man tells a lie, his cowardliness is revealed. What do we mean by this? Actually, this is an explanation of the quote which he takes from Montaigne, and here he says, a lie faces God and shrinks from man, meaning we are all aware that on the day of judgment God would question us about the lies that we spoke. That means knowingly a person is speaking the lie and he or she knows that God would be questioning us, and we are putting up a bold front. That means we are challenging God in this context, and we are shying away from human beings. So, the reverse should have been true. Here he quotes, as I said, Montaigne, who said that a liar is a man who is brave towards God but is coward towards men. He emphasizes on the wickedness of the falsehood by saying that these are the negative qualities of men which will call the judgment of God upon mankind. Further, he says that a bit of lie, when it is added to truth, it works in the similar manner as an alloy of copper and gold. So, when some copper or other kind of an alloy is mixed with gold, at that moment we see that gold jewelry or other things, other crafts could be made out of gold. It becomes easier to work with these metals, but at the same time it makes the actual metal, that is gold, very impure. Further, he says that truth ends pride. So, in this context he says that first God created light, then he bestowed men with rational faculty, and since then he is illuminating the human minds. So, he advises that whenever a person takes the decision, any decision, he should rely on his rationality as it would be based on truth, because God has put this instinct into human beings to rely on truth. Then he quotes from Lucretius, who says that realization of truth is the greatest pleasure in this world. When someone realizes truth, he becomes aware of its importance and recognizes his false beliefs and silly hopes. We cannot be impractical while we are working with truth, it is said. Truth nips the pride in the bud, due to which a person becomes pitiful. In the concluding paragraphs, Bacon speaks of many important didactic points. He concludes his essay with didacticism by giving a tinge of Christian morality. Bacon tries to convince and compel his readers to speak the truth. Last argument which he gives is fear of doomsday. A liar would be punished on the day of judgment, says Francis Bacon. So, overall he is giving us the importance of truth and tries to make us understand that it is very important for us to be on the side of truth. It will save us from many evils. So, as a summing up of the entire essay, we have falsehood brings disgrace and truth brings honor to us, to the human beings. Then truth is required not only in the field of theology and philosophy, but in every field of life. And of course, we discussed that Montaigne was quoted here, who says that a liar is always brave towards God, but a coward towards human being. By telling a liar is directly challenging God. He knows that he has to face God on the day of judgment, yet he promotes falsehood. Thus, he is of course brave and gets punishment. Bacon moralizes and tries his best to convince his readers and compels them to speak the truth. At this time, he even tells them that doomsday would be the day when lies would be caught. So, one should fear doomsday. Liars should be punished on the day of judgment, as he says. This essay is rich in manner as well as matter. This is civil, counsel and moral, and should be read slowly to understand that the lucid and condensed prose style of Bacon. We are aware how heavy Bacon's style is with meaning. So, one has to read it very slowly to understand. Here he is really embarking upon a very noble principle, uplifts the idea of charity and truth, and teaches us to submit wholeheartedly to the will of God. If we follow will of God, we will never be speaking a lie. He relates truth as stable, pure and sacred. The man who is able to realize truth can feel heavenly bliss, according to Bacon in this essay, the greatest pleasure for a man is the realization of truth. It's a pleasure to stand upon the shore and to see the ships tossed upon the sea. This is another simile which Bacon tries to project here through his essay. It's also a pleasure to stand in front of a window of a castle and to see a battle and the adventures thereof. But no pleasure, according to the essayist, is comparable to the standing upon the vantage ground of truth and to survey the errors, falsehood, mistakes and injustices prevailing in the world. If we speak of the language that Bacon has written this essay in, so the first point is, of course, Bacon's style can never be away from the aphoristics that we have discussed last time. For the example, we can say, for a lie faces God and shrinks from man. Then a metaphor, truth may perhaps come to the price of a pearl that showeth best by day, but it will not rise to the price of a diamond or carbuncle that showeth best in varied lights. A simile, and that the mixture of falsehood is like an alloy in coin of gold and silver, which may make the metal work the better, but it embaseth it. Then his style is a good example of compression. He tells how his cowardliness is revealed, man's cowardliness is revealed when he tries to be with lie. It is an illustration of his gift of compression. Finally, we also know that in this essay Bacon has taken quotations from other writers. For a lie faces God and shrinks from man, that is from Montaigne. So, in the end we see that this is one of the rare essays where Bacon is not giving us just philosophical thoughts related to practical life, but he is quite spiritual here. He tries to figure out that man should fear God and doomsday because we are used to speaking lie. He tries to make us abstain from this and live a happy and peaceful life perhaps. So, that is all for today. Thank you and have a good day.